So she mentioned HB 4785, which is called the Preventing Crisis Cost Shifting to Medicaid Act. What? I don't know. Or he came up with that title. That's a tough one. So let's unpack it a little bit more. So this bill forces private insurance companies to cover crisis care via the state of Illinois, levying an annual surcharge on insurance companies. And that surcharge, the money, would go into our state's 988 trust fund. And the more money we put into the 988 trust fund, the more we are able to build out our three-pronged crisis system. And when that system is fully rolling at scale, we will have a place to call. 988, fully staffed, well-compensated call takers, and it's not 911. We will have somebody to come like mobile crisis responders, not the police, and they'll be better compensated so they can stay in the jobs longer. And where we're really behind, once we pass this bill and build up the 988 trust fund, we will have far more places to go. The crisis stabilization units, the crisis recovery centers, and the living rooms, not jail and not a hospital. And we have a few of these today, a few, but not enough, and the public awareness is so low. It is just so low. Without this bill in particular, private insurance companies, and we know who they are, do not pay into the full continuum of crisis care. So this results in, as Senator Villa said, cost shifting to Medicaid and other publicly funded systems. So today, we rely on DHS grants, and we rely on some cannabis taxes, actually, to fund this transformational system where the commercial insurers who cover people that use the crisis system do not pay into this at all. So if we really believe that mental health care is health care, and we do, we have to force private insurers to pay for it. And that has to include crisis care. It has to include crisis care. The private insurers pay for ambulances, right? They pay for ER visits. So with this surcharge, we are asking them to chip in to 988, to mobile crisis, to crisis stabilization units, because mental health care is health care. Enough with only having jails and hospitals as a place to go. We are in a crisis, and it is time to hold private insurers accountable. I'm going to touch on another top priority bill coming for the spring, and yes, we have bill numbers. So this one next is HB 4585, and it comes from the Illinois Association of Behavioral Health Care. This bill slashes the red tape that our substance use treatment providers face every day. The bill gets rid of concurrent review for substance use treatment, including residential and detox, and the bill would finally get rid of prior authorization for outpatient substance use treatment. And this would apply to both Medicaid and state-regulated commercial insurance.
Nice.
So for those of you who don't speak insurance, what is concurrent review, right? Concurrent review is a painstaking process where far-away insurance companies review ongoing patient care, they revise treatment plans daily or weekly, and they create a boatload of paperwork. And back and forth that clinicians or people that work in utilization management at hospitals, for example, have to spend so much time going back and forth with the insurance industry. That's what red tape looks like. It is high time we cut the red tape and focus on saving lives, and that's what this bill is about. And those aren't the only bills this spring. Many of you in this room have filed bills, and we're gearing up to work on them. We have more to do to release many of you know that Medicaid is the biggest funder of mental health and addiction care in the country and in Illinois. HR 1 is also a body blow to state budgets all around the country. We in Illinois are slated to lose $51 billion of Medicaid money from the feds in the next 10 years. $51 billion. So if you didn't feel the urgency before, even though I know most of you do, I hope that you feel it now. We here do believe that mental health care is health care. So now is the time to double down even more and do everything we can in our state control to get people connected to care. And that's what so many of us in this room are going to do. We're going to continue to do that through this spring and beyond. We know because we've done it before, and we're going to continue to do it. So with that, that is what we have for you today. We know we have members of the media listening on live stream. I don't know if there's any way to take their questions, but we'll see if anyone from the media is here does have questions, we will take those. And if not, we are just going to hang out and eat some really cool cookies that say mental health care is health care on them. And talk about what we're going to do next spring.
Yeah, we want to get a picture of y'all, and so we're gonna grab this. We'll be careful with your eyes.
Trump in a tell-all book. The president's allies have since raised questions about Bolton's handling of classified documents, which Bolton describes as retaliation. This year, the Trump administration yanked Bolton's security detail, which was in place because because of threats from Iran. The president told reporters he knew nothing about the FBI search and said Bolton could be a, quote, very unpatriotic guy. Carrie Johnson, NPR News, Washington.
The Israeli military is ordering hospitals to prepare to evacuate patients and equipment from North Gaza in the midst of its planned assault on Gaza City. A Gaza official calls this a death sentence for patients. NPR's Gina Raff has more.
In a recording released by the Israeli military, an Israeli officer tells a Gaza health official they will force everyone to leave Gaza City in the north and that hospitals need to prepare to transfer operations to the South Gaza Strip. The health official tells them that the UN and international medical aid groups have informed them they have no room in the South and that ICU patients and infants in incubators will be at risk. Gaza's health ministry director, Munir al-Bursh, later described the demand as a field execution order against patients too sick or wounded to be transferred. Gaza's healthcare system has collapsed amid ongoing Israeli strikes, with remaining hospitals operating at up to 300% capacity. Jana Raff, NPR News, Amman.
On Wall Street, the Dow is up nearly 900 points, or about 2%. You're listening to NPR News.
Good morning with the latest from the GBH Newsroom. I'm Henry Santoro. Josh Kraft may be trying to distance himself from President Donald Trump, a connection brought on because his father has a history with the president, but he isn't about to swear off the Kraft brand entirely. Last night, Kraft held a Patriots preseason watch party at the Clock Tavern in South Boston, and today he's holding a campaign event featuring his dad, Robert Kraft, and rapper Meek Mill. Political reports that it'll be a panel discussion moderated by former U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts Rachel Rollins. The event at 6 o'clock at Roxbury Community College is invite only, and it is closed to the general public. Hurricane Erin is slowly moving away from the U.S. eastern seaboard, but it's causing strong swells at beaches around New England, including Cape Cod Bay. Stephanie Gomes-Cano is from Longmeadow. She and her kids saw the big waves during a visit to Narragansett, Rhode Island yesterday.
Well, you know, every time I come to Rhode Island, there's a hurricane off the coast. Truthfully, every year I come with my two kids, and there's always, like, rough weather. We end up at Adventureland. Can't go to the beach every day, but, you know, we're making the most of it.
National Weather Service says to expect waves up to 15 feet around Massachusetts coastline through tomorrow evening. In sports, the Red Sox and Yankees are in the Bronx playing Game 2 of their 4-game series tonight. In the forecast, sunny and 80 degrees today. Beautiful day. Clear sky, low 60s overnight. Mostly sunny, 85 tomorrow, then mostly sunny, low 80s on Sunday. We are at 75 degrees. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Americans United for Separation of Church and State. Since 1946, AU has supported the First Amendment right of freedom of religion. More at au.org. This is NPR.
You're listening to BPR on GBH and NEPM. I'm NBC 10 Boston Sue O'Connell here with Harvard's Juliet Kayyem. Welcome. Look, is this the first time we've done this together?
This is. I am so excited.
Very exciting.
Yes, this is very exciting.
This is much
You
less.
look tall.
I am tall. I got taller before, between our coffee break and our prep because I'm standing on a box.
You look Jim Browdy height.
That's
And
what I
I'm,
was going for.
I appreciate it because
That's what I
now
was going for.
I'm so thrilled to be here with you. You've been doing so fabulous this week
Thank
and
you.
next.
Well, you know, we're busy. We're very busy.
Those hosts, they just vacation
Lots of
all
time
the time.
off. Lots of time off. All right. Well, we're going to get right into it now. We're broadcasting, of course, live from the Boston Public Library, streaming on the youtube.com/GBH News. Marjorie will be back on Monday. Both Jim and Marjorie are back Tuesday at the BPL with Mayor Michelle Wu from 12 to 1. And Wednesday at noon, her challenger, Josh Kraft, will be here. So this morning, if you've been just tuning in or saw this morning, the FBI raided the home of John Bolton. He, of course, is the former Trump National Security Advisor turned Trump critic. He's the kind of person who, like, you know, Liz Cheney, I don't think I'd ever thought I would have felt sympathy for, and yet this is the moment we are living in here in American politics.
Anything could happen in 2025.
This is, of course, on top of the news of Trump's continuing overtaking of the U.S. Capitol with the National Guard troops and ICE threatening to flood, that's their word, Boston with ICE officers in response to Mayor Michelle Wu's defiant speech on Wednesday. The number to call or text is 877-301-8970. Here's our question. Ben, it's perennial. How are you perceiving this moment in American history? Does it make you want to be more outspoken about what you believe in? Or on the flip side, are you more than ever cognizant of how your actions could and would be perceived by the MAGA state police? Does this worry you at all, or are we overhyping it and we should just be quiet and go to the beach? We want to hear what you have to say. It's all on the table. 877-301-8970. So, as I said this week, Juliet, around our house, it's what would Julia Kayyem say, whenever I get worried about something.
WWJS.
Yes.
What would Juliet say?
So what do you think?
So I'm taken with this idea that you just read about now, this anticipatory obedience, which I guess is an idea that's out there in countries that begin to show more autocratic or totalitarian tendencies, as we are, which is, do people behave differently in anticipation that if they were to behave as they want to behave, that would get them into trouble with police, politics, the mob on social media? And I think that question can only be answered depending on, or is answered differently depending on where you're sitting. So if you talk to friends like mine who are, part of the immigrant community, our immigrants are active in immigrant communities, they will tell you there is already anticipatory obedience. People aren't showing up places where they're worried that they might be accosted by ICE or approached by ICE. They're having a lot less of a public platform, public performance. And so I think for many people who worry about ICE in particular, they're already doing it. They're anticipating some sort of onslaught and reacting. For me, my anticipatory is more, I'm just not mouthing off as much on social media. It has less to do with I'll get into trouble, because I already get into trouble all the time with social media. It's just more like life is short, and do I really need to say something about Kristi Noem's, face? No. I'd like to. I just did, but it's not really what I was put on earth for. So I try to tame myself that way.
All right, we want your calls and text 877-301-8970. Just so you know, we're not exaggerating. Boston acting ICE Director Patricia Hyde, she delivered this warning that ICE will come after Boston. Take a listen.
As far as, the city of Boston and Mayor Wu not backing down, the men and women of ICE are not backing down. Unlike Mayor Wu, I was born and raised in Massachusetts. I grew up in Boston, and I know what a safe Boston looks like, and this isn't it. I know what a Boston looked like before sanctuary policies in the last 4 years under the previous administration. This is a public safety crisis. Sanctuary policies don't make anyone safer.
Well, way to throw a dig there, because you can only stay where you're born. So
no, also it has to do with the fact that Mayor Wu is Asian American. Yeah. I mean, it is. I am from here. Patricia Hyde, I've seen pictures of her. Says this is what Bostonians look like. That was an ethnic, racist statement, and she knows that many people who support her efforts know how to interpret what she said. I would appreciate if this acting ICE director, Ms. Hyde, would clarify what she means when she says that Mayor Wu is not from here, and does that actually mean that anyone running for office has to be born here? Because I'm sure her political affiliation suggests people from New Hampshire and Maine who come here to run for office. So, but that was, to me, that's exactly the racial, not even undertones, that people at ICE are using now, and it is a threat to Wu. That's here. Well, was actually elected. I believe Miss Hyde is acting.
Acting. She is acting. And I would say, as someone who was born and raised here and lived in the city of Boston for 20 years and greater Boston, it is much safer now than it was in the 70s when I was not allowed, right?
Yeah.
1960s, 1970s, 1980s, Boston was not safe. It's much safer now than it ever was. So we can meet Patricia Hyde and help her fact check. Let's go to
Well, we welcome her here. I mean, if she wants to make those claims here, I just would love to, have an engagement rather than those kinds of, there's a way that Boston needs to look in the future, at least what she's suggesting. It was a way it looked in the past. And everyone, first of all, it didn't look that way in the past. And secondly, this is a city that has had,